Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim, and Chris. On today's Tour Catch Up,
Swiatek secures her first title of the season,
Shelton defends Canada crown in Montreal.
and the Williams sisters return to the doubles court in Cincinnati.
Chris, today is the 15th of August, and we are here to catch up on the week in tennis at Tennis Weekly HQ. On today's episode, we will be wrapping up the Canada Masters as well as looking ahead to Cincinnati. Iga Swiatek and Ben Shelton are your champions in Canada. Ben Shelton surprising everyone and defending his title. Iga Swiatek also looking like she is back to her best against Elena Rybakina in the final, who is chasing Arena Sabalenka and that world #1 ranking. We're also going to look ahead to Cincinnati, make some predictions. There is some talking points as well. Jack Draper is out. The Williams sisters are back. Venus Williams is already out of the singles. Chris, we're gonna, I don't like it, but we're gonna have to still talk about the wild cards that she is getting. Is enough after this defeat to Emilia Irango? We'll talk about that in the second half. But listeners, you might have noticed me and Chris are recording slightly earlier than we would usually, and that is because we are in this weird spot, aren't we, Chris? We had a midweek final in Canada. Cincinnati has already started. It as a result, it felt like we just had to record on a Saturday.
Well, it took us by surprise, if we're completely honest. I think we thought, a 2-week Masters, it would go.
You just think it lasts 2 weeks.
Yeah, but 2 weeks from like Sunday to Sunday, basically, is what we were thinking, or Monday to Sunday.
Yes.
And did not happen. It was a Thursday. It was giving mixed doubles sort of final day. And I think Cincinnati started on the same day. So you were messaging, wait, Jack Draper's
I was
on.
already out in round one, and yeah, there was still tennis going on in Canada. The overlap, huge overlap.
It's really strange because you don't want attention to be split, especially on finals day. So it seems a bit counterintuitive, especially when there's maybe a little bit more from the star power over at Cincinnati. You don't want to give them or to lose their moment. But either way, Joel, we are here. It's a Saturday morning and it's been a big week, because we had the eclipse, and that's something that we need to find out from
Yeah,
Kim. Did she get a great view when she was on holiday?
Big news in the UK during the week. That was on Wednesday, and yeah, I had to. I didn't get my sunglasses in time, so I had to make a little use a cereal box to make a makeshift.
Did it work?
Viewer.
You sent a picture of this. I was very confused. It was like a Shreddies box or something.
Hang on, it was a Weetabix box.
Weetabix, sorry. I don't want to get that wrong.
Weetabix, actually.
I also couldn't secure the sunglasses, but my colander wasn't up to scratch either.
Oh, yes, the colander. Yeah, I did see a few colanders in the park.
Anyone successfully using one, or?
I don't know. Well, yeah, I did see them. It was just a bit odd because I think with the cereal box, you have to look the other way, whereas obviously everyone with the glasses is just looking straight at it.
Honestly.
So it was quite funny. But Kim is still on holiday, but don't worry, listeners, she will be back.
Just tell us about the eclipse.
Yeah, it's about the eclipse.
It's
Probably
Spain.
about her holiday as well. We do have her Cincinnati predictions though, so we will be looking at those in the second half. But first of all, Chris, what caught your attention this week on the tour?
Well, it's a certain Mr. Bublik who is not in Cincinnati, and that's because he has withdrawn, not officially for this reason, but he's at a cucumber festival. And I had to double check this because I thought, surely this can't be right. It is factually accurate. He is at a cucumber festival. This is completely true. Not only that, it's quite a thing. It's a cucumber.
I did not know this was a thing. What
I'm
do you
not
do
sure.
at a cucumber festival? Do you just sample different types of cucumbers?
Well, I have looked into it, Joel, because I've done my research thoroughly. You're able to taste lots of fresh pickles and cucumbers. There's also cucumber ice cream as well. People dress in bright green and creative vegetable costumes. It's a bit of like a local sort of folk sort of festival. But the real reason why he's not in Cincinnati, because I thought surely this is even rogue for Bublik. It's actually because his son's birthday is in the middle of August, so he always skips this part of the swing, and it's at that transition point between the two masters. So he actually has prioritized, his son's birthday because he thinks it's more important. So, I mean,
So it's the birthday party at the Cucumber Festival.
someone's going to have to ask that question in press. Does his son like cucumbers? Otherwise, that's not a great birthday, is it, Joel?
I was half expecting you to tell me it was kind of a bet or he lost a challenge with his coach or something like that, because it's just so out there. But maybe, I mean, if it's cucumbers and pickles, I know lots of tennis players love
the
a bit of
pickle
juice
yes.
on the tennis court. Maybe
pickle
he's trying
ball
to find some
at the cucumber festival.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to source some really nice pickle juice. But we'll have to we'll see. I mean, maybe he'll be speaking about it once he gets to New York.
Well, it's giving Ostapenko levels of tour avoidance, isn't it? Those two are unrivaled in their ability to enjoy themselves off court.
I do like the idea, though, that he just did withdraw from Cincinnati officially, like seeing on the draw sheet, like his name next to Alcaraz and Rune, who've got kind of injury ailments at the moment, and then next to Bublik, it is Cucumber Festival. That'd be quite fun.
Yeah, it is iconic. I
wouldn't put it past Bublik either.
I wouldn't put it past him either. And he actually will lose points on this because you are penalised for missing the Masters if you're fit and able to play. So, I mean, he may as well list Cucumber Festival because either way, he is he's getting penalised.
The real mandatory is the Cucumber Festival. That's it. Well, I noticed also this was also a very bizarre experience or event another tennis player went through, and it was Flavio Cobolli, who was at the FC Cincinnati football soccer team stadium in a kind of pre-game, I think, ritual where he is basically King Arthur and pulling a sword, massive sword, out of a rock. I watched the clip of this online, Chris. I still don't really know what to think. I'm actually just a little bit relieved he was able to pull the sword out of the rock in the first place, because that was the thing, wasn't it, with the legend? Like no one could do it.
Does that mean he's the chosen one for Cincinnati? Is he going to walk away with the title, Joel?
This feels like a bad omen, if I'm being honest.
Do you think round one exit after getting the sword? I mean, I'm not sure I'd volunteer for that role. It is quite high pressure, but then quite often you have to do the first pitch at a baseball game or something like that, and I think that looks a lot harder.
That is high pressure as well.
That is high pressure, so I'd rather pull out a sword from the stone and kind of just hope that the powers that be have actually let me do it. Press the release button.
It is a tradition of pulling the legendary Sword of Cincy from
Is that a
its
thing?
stone.
The Sword of Cincy. Well,
If
now
I'm
we
being,
know.
If I'm being really cutting, I was like, was there no one more famous than Flavio Cobolli?
But I guess no one is playing these tournaments is one thing I'd say. And Djokovic
I think he is
probably
he is a big football fan as well. I think when he was a junior, he actually had to choose between football and tennis as his career.
So maybe he volunteered.
Maybe he was there. Maybe he was all too keen to get involved. But yeah, very interesting incident. I would quite like to pull the sword
You'd back
out.
yourself for that, I think.
Yeah, it's like the UTS. It's like larger than life. It's like the UTS Lightning Bolt trophy, I think.
Oh, that could be quite cool as well. When the players walk on for UTS and they have the racket there, you've got to pull it out of something. Like an epic sort of tale. But I mean, hopefully he can do better on the court than he did last week. I think that's going to be.
Does he get to keep the sword finally?
It's going to be hard to travel with that.
Yeah.
I think TSA are not going to love you.
No weapons on a plane.
I think Larkers have trouble too, so he might have to get it shipped.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's see. We'll need to keep invested and up to date with the Sword of Cincy. Does that travel with
Is it the trophy? We'll find out.
Is it in the Cincinnati? Is it at the Cincinnati Open? We'll see. But let's move on to the action we have had, and we're catching up, Chris, on the latter rounds of the Canada Masters, starting with the women first of all, because we had the final between Iga Swiatek and Elena Rybakina, and Swiatek is now the candidate champion in Toronto. Pretty dominant win over Rybakina, 6-2, 6-3. Great match for Swiatek, great tournament for her, particularly in the final, because in terms of the head-to-head, I think Rybakina was slightly having the upper hand in some of their most recent matches. So for Swiatek to stop that and get a title ahead of the US Open, big tick for her. How impressed were you with Iga Swiatek in the final and across the tournament? You know, we had this feeling, is Iga back in the last episode? She did have a couple of blips on the way, particularly, I think, in that second set against Elena Svitolina. But overall, though, you look at kind of the dominance of some of the sets she had across the event and the dominance against top quality players like Rybakina in the final. Pretty good 2 weeks, 12 days, whatever it is. Pretty good tournament for her.
Yeah, it's a really good tournament. I mean, Rybakina is likely to become the world number one very shortly, unless Sabalenka can hold on and win the US Open. I think that's probably the way it's headed. So that's a big win. Also, first final this year. Also think that can't be right with Iga Swiatek being such a great player and such a consistent top player. But it hasn't been a fantastic season for her. It's been a very tricky season. So this clearly means an awful lot. And I think she's taken some time away at the right points to work on her game and come back. And she seemed like she was fresh. She seemed like she had a lot of positivity about her game. And I think it really paid off because she really did excel in that final. And we know that she's got a great record in finals. She was infamous for it kind of early in her career, that she would just wipe the floor with anyone in a final. It's not quite as good as it used to be, her finals record. But again, she is so close now to completing tennis. And I think it's strange that it's not something we've seen more often, her winning titles in the last couple of years, given how normal it feels. This feels like a very normal result, but actually it's quite a significant result for Iga.
Yeah, it does feel unfamiliar, but also familiar at the same time. I think what stood out for me was Swiatek's response afterwards, because it sort of reflected, I think, this situation that she feels she's in, that this has been one of the toughest periods of her career on the tour, given title drought, finals drought, not necessarily peaking at the right moments at Grand Slams. And she dedicated her win to anyone kind of dealing with judgment and hate. And she said, like, I'm really happy. I kept focusing on growing, changing my game a little bit, improving. I'm happy the reality is different. The reality is that I have people that know me so well and people that support me. They're here to give their best work. Just keep pushing. I want to dedicate this title to anyone who's dealing with unfair judgment and hate. Just keep pushing and growing. I mean, what did you make of the fact that Swiatek gave airtime to kind of the situation maybe that she is feeling? Because I was a bit surprised that she kind of opened up about that, but I guess gives a real reflection of the state of mind, perhaps, that Swiatek is in and has been in this season.
It does, and it really reminds me of those comments that Coco Gauff made when she won the US Open, where she said, basically, the people who've been trying to put water on my fire, the reality is you're only kind of fueling it, you're adding gas to it. And I thought that stood out because clearly these top players, they do see a lot of this stuff, and they do see, the papers. It could be she's always had a tricky relationship with the papers over in Poland. It's never been that kind to her, even though she has a huge fan base over there. And I think taking a step backwards, focusing on her game and then getting better, I think is exactly what she's done. I think she said the same thing at Wimbledon. She said, everyone needs to let me do my thing because we have got it. We are able to do it. And I think there is a lot of truth to that. I think she's trying to be inspirational with this. And I think it only really tells me that she is seeing the negativity. And you just think, really, you shouldn't be paying attention to it at all because it will affect you. And your achievements are not necessarily in spite of other people not thinking you can do it. Because if you know you can do it and you have confidence in yourself, believing in yourself could be a really strong message that no matter how your season is going or what people are saying, but it is quite focused on, there is this hate towards her. And I think if you look for it, unfortunately, you'll find it. It's everywhere. But at the same time,
are you surprised she acknowledged it, though?
I think she really wanted to make the point that she does know best when it
Mhm.
comes to what she's doing with her team, how she's handling things. And I think these sort of results are really important to her because then she can show everybody that she's got it right, that she knows what she's doing. And I think it's more about that point, similar to the Wimbledon comments that she made when she won. It's a little bit of like, I told you so. Like, I made a good decision hiring, Francisco Roig. And I think everyone's able to celebrate however they wish to. And I'm focusing on the fact that Iga is back at the level that we thought she'd be at. But anyone who knows anything knows that when you make changes, it takes time for them to affect your game and for you to be able to elevate what you do. So I'm not someone who would give airtime to haters in this respect. I think you just have to surround yourself, as she said, with a really positive team that she really enjoys working with. But having said that, Joel, I mean, it's not like it's been a stellar last year since that Wimbledon title. So it's a bit strange because,
Yeah.
it's not all been great. So I
Yeah,
think,
I guess for me it's hard to know at the moment. I mean, obviously been a great tournament for her, getting a title. It's always great. I mean, she's now out in front of Sabalenka in terms of number of Masters crowns. She's now got 12 in total, and Sabalenka is on 11. I guess, yeah, to me there's still like, maybe unlike before, I'm still like, is this is this just a single moment? Can she continue it? Because I think for me, we've not necessarily seen that consistency that we have seen before. And I think this is going to be a real task, particularly with Cincinnati, because she's a defending champion there. So, there's a lot of pressure still to come. And, it's a very tough moment in the season, back to back Masters events, long time at each of these events.
mm,
It'll be interesting, I think, to see if she
yeah.
can kind of
And
continue the momentum.
I was just going to say also, I mean, it's quite a bold statement to make. You are on top now, but she also understands the lows of the game. So it doesn't mean that she's going to have, as you say, a fantastic Cincinnati defend her title and then win the US Open or have a decent
Mm.
showing there. So it's a bit risky when you make these big statements because then you actually do add more fuel to these people who then know that they are having an effect on you and that you are aware of it. So I think you don't want to invite more of that in, and you just want to focus on positive results. And maybe it's better to say something like that. After a few more consistent results, could also be a move to protect yourself from, even more criticism in the future. But no one deserves it, and I think that the women definitely get far more hate, especially because it's not as dominant.
Mm.
Sometimes there are those highs and lows, and we've seen it with other players, as I've said, who've had to or felt they should comment on this, and there's no place for it. So hopefully those comments go away, and she can just enjoy playing tennis and doing what she's best at.
Well, you did mention that she is actually very close to completing tennis. I think this is like a new theme among the very top players, but she's now ticked off the Canada box, and I think she's only 3 titles away from completing all the big
Ooh,
titles.
which
She's
three
still
are
not got an
they?
Australian Open.
Yep.
Dubai, she's reached the final there, but still not got the trophy there. And also, most importantly, Wuhan. Um,
Right.
she's not. She's reached the quarterfinals. I mean, I would also maybe add to the list, not got a gold medal in the Olympics yet
Oh,
as
okay. So
well.
that's huge. That's
So I
really
feel like we
completing
can't really
tennis.
talk about completing tennis until you've won an Olympic gold medal. But
Completing the
yeah, do you
tour.
think do you think by the end of Iga Swiatek's career she will have completed tennis with all of these milestones 100%?
The Olympic gold is the trickiest, I think. That will be really tough. I think she had a really good chance to do it at Roland Garros, but timing wise and her form, it didn't
Mm.
coincide. The stars did not align there, and maybe they will later. Novak Djokovic won a bit later in his career. His gold medal was the final thing that allowed him to complete tennis, but I think she'll win an Australian Open. I really do. I think she does play well there. I think she got very close that year against Madison Keys of potentially making it to a final. I mean, Dubai obviously is not that hard to win because no one plays it. And Wuhan is kind of the
I
same.
think
Yeah.
Wuhan is the tricky one, Chris.
Yeah, because you've got to actually decide you want to play it. Right? Like it's not a popular one. So I think she'd quite like to, but I do think it's tough with the Olympics. You never know how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, she's got lots of time as well. I mean, still only 25 years old. So, yeah, yeah. I think she can do it. I think she can do it. I mean, one other thing just to mention, Chris, on Swiatek, did you see the prize ceremony? Because afterwards, um, I, I think this is right. The head groundsman's dog, Elway, ran onto the court or was on the tennis court and basically was having its own photo shoot with Iga Swiatek. And actually, after like maybe like 5-10 minutes, Iga Swiatek I think was more interested in photos with the dog as opposed to her trophy.
I mean, clearly she's an animal lover, but I mean, Elway knows how to work a crowd. That's what I'd say. And I mean, almost like rolling around,
And I love it. I'm here for it.
yeah, loves a belly rub. And Iga was trying to play with him with some tennis balls, no interest, just rolling around, basking on court in, the success. And probably he thought that the claps were for him. But very, very sweet. I mean, I'm allergic to dogs, Joel. So I could never win Cincinnati. Clearly, that would not be. No, not Cincinnati. Sorry, I've lost the plot. I could never win in Toronto because this would be a real issue for me. But I mean, very, very sweet scenes, and I mean, it's funny because normally it's like your other half or your coaches, but no, it's Elway, the groundsman's dog.
And just a word on Elena Rybakina as well, because she's had a great she's had a great tournament here, getting closer to that world number 1 ranking. Perhaps that fueled her as well after Sabalenka's exit. I think in the women's game, the fact that we've had Swiatek and Rybakina reach the final, it feels like there's been some sort of actual semblance maybe of some front runners for the US Open, like resurfaced, because we were kind of thinking, it's very competitive, the strength in depth, but actually, yeah, we've had two of probably the favorites kind of come to some form. But yeah, does this run from Elena Rybakina give you confidence that she can potentially go deep at the US Open?
She needed it. I really do think she needed it because it's been pretty barren since that
Mm.
Stuttgart title. I mean, early exits at kind of both of the slams. I mean, a 6-1 set that she lost as she went out to Elise Mertens at Wimbledon. Grass was not her happy hunting ground at all either. And she really did need a reset, I think. I think she's been in a bit of a tumultuous situation in her coaching corner. It's never the easiest. It's well documented. We've talked about it a lot. It feels like the setup is a bit more secure now, and I feel like she's a player who really does need that and needs people in her corner who are helping her, who are also helping her to be better both on and off the court. I think that's so important. So I think stability has returned, which is important for her. And I mean, she was playing some fantastic tennis this week, and it would be strange if she does become number 1, having not had a result like this for so long. So I think it is good that she got it. I think she's peaking at the right time for another potential slam run. Very good on a hard court. Not traditionally great at the US Open, but having said that, I mean, that Osaka match was probably like the final, not to take anything away from any of the other matches, but that's got to be match of the week for me. And her
Yeah.
coming through that, coming back from a set and a breakdown. I think a lot of the top qualities of Elena Rybakina were on show this week, and I think that's what you need from a world number 1. So I think she'll be pleased
Yeah.
with it.
I think you're right. I think, for me, what I learned from Rybakina this week is just the number of times that she was able to play her best tennis from positions when she was down. She had to be really gutsy from the get-go, really. I mean, even against Kasatkina in her first match, that was 3 sets. Also against Samsonova as well, really tight battle. She was down in that. Osaka, and then Coco Gauff losing the first set there as well. So I think the confidence that Rybakina can take from the fact that there are times, I think, when she wasn't playing her best tennis, but actually she still found a way to win.
Mm.
And I think that is really, really important because, if you're going to be world number 1, I think, there's that sort of feeling that you can't necessarily play your best tennis all the time. And we know how good the best tennis level is from Rybakina, but I think she'll take a lot from the fact that actually when it's more like 7 out of 10, I can still find ways to win against the very best.
Yeah, when that first serve percentage goes too low, she can really struggle sometimes.
Mm.
And as you've said, she's not always been a natural problem solver. You know, if plan A is not working, it can get pretty dicey. So I think that's good. Obviously, the final was not a result she
Yeah.
wanted. I
She's
think,
not got a great record, sorry, in Masters finals. Very big contrast between kind of Swiatek's record in major finals and Elena Rybakina's, particularly at Masters level. I don't think she's won a Masters title in a few good years. Why do you think, just finally, why do you think Rybakina's record at Masters level is not as good as you maybe would typically expect from a champion like her in the latter ends of tournaments? I think I was reading, don't quote me on this, I think I was reading she's reached like 14 semi-finals in Masters events, but only come out as a champion twice. So not a great return if you compare that to someone like an Iga Swiatek.
yeah, and one of those was Rome, where the whole thing was basically like
Mm.
washed out, you know, very strange conditions that year. So that is odd. I've not really thought about it that much. She does seem to be a player who doesn't necessarily consistently play well, like across a season always. She does have moments where she's brilliant. It's a bit sort of Kvitova-esque at times, where
Mm.
you know that if they're on, you're in real trouble. And she was really on at the WTA finals heading into the Australian Open. So I think it depends on what she's feeling, what's happening on and off court. I think in those big moments at those tournaments, you know, you are tested by top players. And I think there is a level that Iga has. She gets better and better, tends to when the tournament goes on. I think Rybakina probably sometimes is unable to keep that level across the 7 or 6 matches. I think she can do it and pick up a title at a
Yeah.
500 very easily. That's not necessarily a
I think
problem for
actually
her.
the 2 week format for the Masters events probably goes against her, because I wouldn't necessarily say that her kind of recovery between kind of matches is, um, based on what we see. I think there are players who maybe are better at bouncing back from, you know, big matches, continuing on momentum, than her. But again, I think she showed it really well this week. Let's move on to the men's tournament though, because in Montreal we had a defending champion against all odds, against kind of, I feel like no one was really talking about Ben Shelton going into the tournament, but Ben Shelton is a two-time Canada Masters champion. He defeated Brandon Nakashima in an All-American final, 6-3, 7-6, straight sets. I mean, Chris, this really was the story almost like across the week from Ben Shelton. Lots of straight sets victories. I'm just double checking now. He actually did not drop a set the whole tournament, which is an incredible thing to do, regardless of the competition being faced. An incredible thing to do at a Masters 1000 level. Let's talk about kind of, before we talk about kind of in the realms of like US Open, but what kind of stood out for you this week for Ben Shelton, and the fact that, I know, he went from a position of sort of being counted out, not really expected to do anything, to ultimately being champion. Do you feel like that maybe helped his cause?
I think he had a point to prove, for sure. It's very strange to go into a tournament where you won it last year and you're in the top 10 or around about the top 10, I think, at the time, and people weren't picking you to win the title. Um, and I think it was a reminder that he is very much, you know, a top competitor. I mean, he's up to, you know, really pushing towards inside top 5 at the moment.
Mm.
But it is that strange thing where it does make a point that he has won 2 Masters and he has defended a Masters title, which is obviously a big achievement. Not stacked draws at all. And at the Slams this year, it has not been a record that you would really want. He's 5-3 at the Slams this year, which is not great. He did have a quarterfinal in Australia and then a second round and a first round exit. So I think it probably, for me, I'm very pleased for him. I think great. I'd like to see him competing in the later rounds at Slams. But again, he hasn't been doing it. He's not been pushing the top players, I mean, that much when it comes to the big moments. And that's what you play for. Masters titles are brilliant. He's ticked that one off. He's ticked it off again now. But I'm sure that the US Open and going deep like he has done previously has got to be, a priority for him. Otherwise, winning 4 titles this season on 4 different surfaces, which is great,
Mm.
but it's kind of hidden behind the fact that it hasn't been, you
It's not
know,
kicked on. It's not necessarily kicked on, and
yeah,
I do think I do agree. I think it's a weird situation with Shelton in terms of like this is a great result. Very yeah, I congratulate him on that. And if you look at the number of titles he's won this season, yeah, it is like his best season to date. But there doesn't feel like there's that kind of energy perhaps around him and talking about his game, and it's more around like has he kind of kicked on and evolved from last season and a few seasons ago, and we're still one of waiting for that maybe breakout moment at Grand Slam. Do you think it could happen at this US Open? I think what's really hard for me with this tournament is like, yes, Ben Shelton did win. Yes, he did not drop a set, but you got to take into account the fact that no Yannick Sinner, no Carlos Alcaraz, no Novak Djokovic,
mm.
no Alexander Zverev, went out early. Do you think like this sets him up well for America, or do you think, or sorry, for the US Open, or do you still think there are kind of question marks?
I mean, I have big question marks still because he has such a big game and he's such a great player. It really does confuse me as to why he hasn't done more this year. Um, I was getting really excited at certain points when he won warm-up tournaments, a title on each surface, as we've said. So I think this will be something that he will get him back on track. And I think that gives him an opportunity to do something really great at home on the hard courts in the US, where we know that he loves to play. So I think this next period will be really important as to the direction of his career because he is clearly playing great tennis. He's been playing great tennis at times this year, but he has not been winning those big matches. So I know it sounds a bit negative, but I think when you have someone who is so good, and America needs, really does need a strong men's player and a men's player who can win Grand Slams. It would be so huge for this moment. Obviously, the women's, they've got some absolute superstars, but on the men's side, it has been a bit lacking. We've been in this conversation of, is it Fritz? Is it going to be Shelton? You've got lots of players in there, TFO, like lots of really good players. Tommy Paul, but no one has gone that step up. Yeah, Nakashima, he could have done it as well. So I think that's what I mean with this is that he could be right up there with Alcaraz and Sinner competing for slams. I honestly think he could, but that's the problem. He isn't. So we should really say he did play brilliantly. The serve was fantastic. That caliber opponent might not have been there, but again, it cements his position as the best of the rest.
Yeah, and I think just talking about the fact that he's won on all these kind of different surfaces, I do think he's added a lot more variety to his game, and I was interested to see some of the statistics around his serve. And there's a lot of talk actually that his second serve is even more devastating than his first serve. He probably has the best kick serve in the men's game at the moment. And
it's giving Sam Stosur.
Yeah, I mean it's a real weapon to have because it sort of takes the pressure off, I think, a little bit on the first serve, which I do think has a bit more mileage to be even more devastating than it can. But I like that he kind of switches it up. There's been times when he's taken speed off the first serve, he's kept his opponents guessing. And when you do combine that with the forehand that he possesses, I mean, his forehand really was in full flow in the last few matches of Canada. Winners left, right, and center, not really dropping unforced errors, but it's like he's got the tools. He now needs to kind of put it together at Grand Slams, and that's the question I think we're still at with him, because I've just been disappointed with he's getting to these moments, these big moments, and I'm wondering, can he challenge Sinner? Can he challenge Alcaraz? But more or less at the Grand Slams, it's sort of whimpered out and he's lost in straight sets, or it's not necessarily felt competitive. But I personally think at the US Open, he's going to feel confident that he can do this. I mean, I was looking at last year. He retired against Manarino last year at the US Open. So, I think, there's a big opportunity for a first American male Grand Slam champion since Andy Roddick. I do think the conditions also help because, it may be without Alcaraz we don't know with Sinner full fitness. I do think there's an opportunity there, and perhaps Ben Shelton is the person to take it.
He's one tournament away, I really believe, from, going stratospheric in terms of his tennis profile, in terms of what he can do, being a household name. He has all of the tools. So I would love to see someone from the US on the men's side, do exactly what you've said. And I think it'll be a very interesting time with Cincinnati and then the US Open. I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of points. And, we don't know Alcaraz's participation at the US Open. So that could even be another opportunity. And you don't get that many opportunities where you really can, make a sort of big run at the majors.
Yeah, indeed. He's got all the tools, and I think he's got all the confidence. I think, we know he's a confidence player. Maybe that's the little thing that's been missing. And defending your title, before we go to a break, I'll just say defending your Masters 1000 title, defending a big title, that is not something that is very easy to do. I mean, the eighth man to do that, he joins the list of Federer, Nadal, Murray, Djokovic, Alcaraz, Sinner, and Stefanos Tsitsipas. So just shows, the kind of company that he is in. But maybe with that trepidation, is Canada to Shelton what Monte Carlo is to Tsitsipas?
Oh, it could be actually. We'll have to see what happens next year, Joel.
Right, we're going to take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half where we will be discussing just how close the race is for the WTA finals and those top 8 spots. And we will be looking ahead to Cincinnati, discussing the draws, making some predictions. And we do have the Williams sisters returning. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast, and let's kick off the second half with a game, par for the courts, Chris, another par for the courts for you, a solo edition. And it's a short but sweet par for the courts this week. And I think maybe I'm going to get into this a little bit more. There was another clue, or there is some sort of topical relevance from the first half for my category. If you want to maybe have a guess?
I'm really hoping it's not Canada Open champions.
It's not Canada Open champions, don't worry. But it is Canada Open related. So my question for you and our listeners this week is, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 active men's players who have won multiple Masters 1000 titles. And I would like you to name me as many as you can. As always, feel free to give me the in a clump, in a bundle, if you're feeling that confident. But there are 9 in total. I am going to set par at 7. But for little bonus points, if you can tell me for the players that it's not as massive as some of the others, if you can tell me the tournaments they have won, I'll be extra impressed.
Right. Active players on the ATP side.
Indeed.
This is going to be a little tricky. Not the initial bit though, so we can rattle off, Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, Tsitsipas. I'm really going for it now.
Right, we're going to stop that. Right, those 4 are correct. Djokovic has 40 Masters
That's mad,
titles.
isn't it?
Sinner has 10. Alcaraz has 8. Tsitsipas has 3. So yeah, already off to a great start. That's 4 correct answers.
Hurkacz has 2.
That is very good. I thought that was going to be the toughest answer on the board.
Ooh.
Maybe you've already got it. But yeah, Hurkacz is a correct answer. Do you remember the Masters titles
He won in Shanghai and he won in Miami, I think.
Very good. Very good.
Now I am... Oh, Ben Shelton.
That is correct. Very good. Yep, Ben Shelton, the most recent male player to add himself to the list.
Now I'm thinking it's got to be
So you've got one more for par for the courts.
Has to be Stan Wawrinka.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to need to Google this because so okay, here we go. This is the state we're in. Stan Wawrinka is not on the list I have got. But is he a multiple Masters 1000 champion? That's the question.
I've said he is, but I don't know.
He's only won one Masters 1000 title, Chris.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is an incorrect answer. That is almost too shocking that I thought genuinely
You got
my
made a
sources
mistake.
were wrong. And I was like, Chris is surely right. But no, he only won one Masters title, 2014 Monte Carlo.
Um, I did not know that. That is wild to me. And Stan, I mean, if I were you, I'd rather take the Grand Slam titles, but you've definitely underperformed at the Masters. Maybe he can still win one, Joel.
Yes. You could have given me Zverev. Zverev has won 7.
Oh, why didn't I say Zverev?
Medvedev has also won 6. And there is one other player who's won 2 Masters titles on the tour.
Oh, we think, are they more mature?
Yeah, Andrei Rublev.
Rublev, there we go.
Andrei Rublev has won Monte Carlo and Madrid. So there you go. Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Shelton, Hurkacz, Rublev. No Stan the Man, though.
Right. Well, I think I would have probably made par had I not gone for that one. But Kim will have to tell us how she did. And listeners, I'm sure that you were screaming at me to say some of those answers because Zverev was a really obvious one. Didn't get that one. Um, that is a tough one for sure.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, yeah, listeners, let us know how you got on with our Path of the Courts this week. We're going to move on, though, to our mailbag. We had an Instagram DM from Michael to say, "Hi, gang. After Canada, the race for the WTA Tour Finals is hotting up, and it could be one of the closest ones in years with Canada Open and Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek outside of the top 8. Who do you think is going to make it, and who will end the year as number 1?"
Great question. I have been looking into this, Joel, and something we should make everyone aware of. So at the moment, the list goes Rybakina, Sabalenka, Andreeva, Svitolina, Pegula, Mukova, Goff, Noskova. They are the current 8. And for Noskova, it's pretty much guaranteed that she will be there because if you are a Grand Slam champion and you finish in the race inside the top 20, you will be qualifying for the WTA finals. So she's pretty much secured that because it's very hard, I mean, she will be there qualified by right. In terms of the other players, obviously there are some players who are, going to qualify no problem at all. Sabalenka, Rybakina, Andreeva. I mean, that's pretty obvious in that sense. When you get to the other players, though, it is interesting that Iga is that bit below. There is work to be done there. And Marta Kostic's also having a great season. But what I would say is that it is almost like unless someone wins a really rogue US Open, it is going to be between these 10 players because there is quite a big gap that exists right now. I don't think we're going to see a Rybakina like last year sneaking in at the final moment because Andreeva didn't enter Ningbo or whatever it was, Joel. So I think it's probably Iga's going to make it. I think Kostic could make it. But then will everyone play? And I'm not sure that Mukova will play, is kind of what I'm thinking. So there will be one person, I think, who had a great season who's missing out. And I mean, it's going to be fascinating.
I mean, it could, as you mentioned, with Noskova, it could be the top 7 that go through, not maybe the top 8. If Noskova is outside of the top 8, she will be there. If she is in the top 20 as a Grand Slam champion. I guess maybe on that, just building on that question then, do you feel like, do you think that's a fair enough, right? That, you're in the tour finals if you're a Grand Slam champion in the season?
Yeah, I think it would be really weird now if you're not, because you have obviously played some of the top tennis and you want all the best players in the world to be there. And when you get to number 8 in the live rankings or the race, you might have made a semi-final, but you haven't won a Grand Slam. And so I think you do want the Grand Slam champions there if possible. And for example, especially, on the men's side of things, there are players who have previously maybe won something, but then not necessarily played enough to keep the ranking up there. I think I'm thinking of Djokovic one year. So you still want your top talent there. I like the rule, but I'm also now looking at this thinking, who is going to be number one? Because I'm not looking at Mira and Driva, but I do think it could be a case that Rybakina. Oh, but then it's also she's defending tight points from the WTA finals last year. So it's a two-horse. Why is it a two-horse race, Joel? I'm on the fence now. I was thinking it was going to be Rybakina, but now I remembered that
I
she's in
think
the WTA
Sabalenka's going to
finals.
pull it back. I think Sabalenka's going to pull it back.
She's going to get that shit back in order.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
I
if you
think
say Sabalenka, I'll go Rybakina then.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I would love to see Osaka or Iala at the tour finals. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. They're in kind of like I think they're around like 15th position at the moment. They're going to need an incredible result, I think, to really drive them up. But yeah, those are the only kind of couple of names I would like to add to the list. And yeah, who knows? Maybe being in the top 10 will be enough because, yeah, I've already got uncertainty over maybe Mukova.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strong lineup, though. We should say, like, it's really exciting. Coco Gauff at number 7. I mean, that just shows the
Yeah, that is
quality.
crazy.
It really does. So it all depends what happens in Cincinnati, doesn't it, Joel?
Yes, it does. And we're going to talk now about Cincinnati. Play has got underway. And we actually are now at this really nice point where the tournament, we've now got the second round ready to go. All the top players are now in after receiving a bye in the first round. But Chris, let's look at the draw and the main talking points so far before we look at our predictions. I mean, the biggest news probably is in terms of tennis is the fact that Jack Draper is out. But before we get to that, I think the more interesting point is Novak Djokovic is returning in Cincinnati. And in the build-up, interestingly, he was quoted as saying he wanted to play a tournament before the US Open. He said his body has reacted very well after Wimbledon. I don't think I've felt this good after a Grand Slam for more than 2 years. I'm healthy and I'm really looking forward to playing. So yeah, quite interesting comments from Djokovic in terms of his fitness, and he's already kind of admitted that he wants to play an event in the build up to the US Open. I mean, he's got some great memories here. I mean, his last match here was that incredible match against Carlos Alcaraz, which went 4 hours. One of the matches of recent memories on the tour. But what are you expecting from Novak Djokovic at Cincinnati, and what do you make of these kind of health comments as well, and his kind of all this stuff around his physical fitness?
Well, it's fighting talk, isn't it? I really do think he wouldn't be playing Cincinnati if he felt not fresh, if he felt like he hadn't recovered well. So it's a really promising sign for everybody, and especially Novak Djokovic fans, that his body is still coping, despite the fact, he is pushing on a little bit when it comes to his age. I also think that he plays well in Cincinnati. The conditions are very similar to the US Open in many ways. It's a good physical test. So I'm not sure necessarily what Djokovic will see, but I'm more interested in the comments he's made than how he plays in Cincinnati, because if he's feeling good, we know he can play himself into a tournament and give himself opportunities to maybe win another slam. 25 could be on the cards. And he doesn't really mislead when it comes to how he's feeling. I think if he is not feeling good, he will say he's not feeling good. So that for me is very interesting. And now I'm looking at my predictions thinking, who do I have him going out to?
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting part of the draw as well. He's got Tirante in his first match. In his quarter, he's got Dumanor, Menchik and Lehechka, perhaps Darderi, Arnaldi, Arthur Fils. So, there feels like there's opportunity there. We've got Zverev as the top seed, Felix Auger-Aliassime as the second seed. I mean, Taylor Fritz is there, Nakashima, Ben Shelton as well. So, a lot of Americans. Carlos Alcaraz is the defending champion. He is not here. So, interesting to see. I mean, just quickly, Chris, talking about the Brits. We'll talk about Jack Draper very quickly because he is already out, lost to Lander Luthe in straight sets. Another disappointing loss from the sense that Draper was he was banging on the door in that second set, had all those set points, really should have taken it to a third, but wasn't able to, and Landaluce, taking it in two sets. Yeah, I mean, it's not the return that Draper wanted. Again, still kind of positive signs here and there, but yeah, it's still kind of I guess a tough moment, and he can't. It doesn't quite seem that he can catch a break at the moment.
He's certainly not out of the woods. We talked about it last week. It's tricky viewing at the moment, and I think
Mm.
even if he is starting to win these matches, how will he cope with the physical load of multiple matches over multiple days, especially when you're
Best
in a
of five as well.
500
If he is
best of
going to
five.
be there, which is not a foregone conclusion. We don't know if he will get a wild card, whether he will need to play singles qualifying, whether that's on his frame of mind at the moment.
Yeah, we really don't know. So I think all we can take is that it's positive that he's playing because then it doesn't seem like he's doing more damage than good. Um, so that's all we can really talk about is that it's good that he's on court, and I mean, apart from that,
Do you
yeah,
think I get the reason why he would have gone to these Masters events to try and get, rank big number of ranking points, but do you think like how it's gone, 2 matches, 2 defeats, it suggests that maybe he needs to have a bit of a change of tact and go kind of drop down level? I'm thinking, I mean, maybe
Bransfield
Winston-Salem's maybe
Challenger.
too early, but even like challenger level, do you think like maybe he should drop down a bit further?
I think it's not that he can't win these matches. I still think it's the physical issue that's been ongoing. I don't think it's about winning or losing matches at all right now. I think it's about getting back to a place where you can compete on the tour again. And maybe there's a decision that he's made that he would rather be out there playing at a level below what he knows he can play at, or not knowing if he's able to serve as hard as he can and play his normal game. And that's a better alternative than sitting at home. I really don't know. But I just hope things look up for him because he's such a nice chap and he deserves so much more and he had so much talent and it really looked like he could do something pretty huge. Former world number 4, what a season he had, and looking at those US Open memories of making the semi-final, it's such a distant memory now, which is it's going to be tough. So I'm hoping the best, but in my predictions, I've still got a Brit in there, Joel.
Oh, is it Arthur Ferry? Because I noticed he is playing his first match since Wimbledon. He is seeded. What an incredible story. I almost had to take a double check on the draw that I think he's around 34 in the world. 2 players dropped out. 32nd seed snuck in there. Had a bye in the
Ooh,
first round.
straight to round 2.
It's just, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. But right, let's do some predictions. We do have Kim's predictions as well.
Should we mess with Kim and just make up some predictions?
Yeah, shall we?
Yeah, we've never done that before. We've always been very honest.
How do you want to do this? Should we do quarters? Should we do all of our quarters in one go?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, right. Would you like to go first?
I will go first. Then I'll do Kim, shall I? I've got Norrie Hodar. I've got Djokovic versus Rude, Fritz Medvedev, and Musetti Tsitsipas. And there are some similar names, but I think Kim has used this as an excuse to go particularly rogue because she doesn't have to announce them. But she's gone Paul Hodar, Mensik Halis, Fritz Nakashima. She likes a bit of Nakashima. And Shelton versus Teen.
Okay. Is Hallis making a quest for the French number 1 slot? Maybe, I don't know. Right. I've got Paul Hodar as well. Djokovic Fils, Fritz Rublev. Rublev let me down in Canada, but I'm expecting him to come back firing in Cincinnati. And I've got Shelton Tiafoe, All-American quarterfinal.
I can see that. TFO had a minor surgery coming back before the US Open. So we can move on to the semi-final. I'll do Kim's first this time, shall I? She's gone for quite a sensible selection that seems to be very oriented based on the form of last week. She got Hodar Mensik and Nakashima Shelton. Her final is Hodar Shelton, and her winner is Shelton. He's doing a double.
Oh, I can't see it.
Well,
I
who do
can't
you
see it.
see then, Joel? Come on.
Well, I do have an American champion, but it is not Ben
It's going
Shelton.
to be
I've
Fritz,
got
isn't it? Of
Paul
course. Of
Djokovic,
course it's going to be Fritz.
Fritz Tiafoe, and I've got an All American final again. To be fair, Paul Fritz, and I've got Taylor Fritz as my champion. Yeah.
Then he would be a two-time Masters champion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would. So, I mean, the
Joining
numbers
the
on the list
list,
are just
maybe.
adding up, and I still probably wouldn't get it. Well, I can see Fritz having a good run here. Americans are doing very well, so I think there will definitely be a number of them. I've gone Hodar Djokovic, Fritz Massetti, and I've got Hodar taking out Djokovic because I'm not sure that Djokovic wants to play until the very bitter end of Cincinnati at this point for
Yeah. Very true.
preparation. And I've got Hodar Fritz in the final. So I'm laughing at your Fritz prediction, but I've got Hodar beating him,
Ooh,
and he's
Hodar
going
is
to
your
become
champion.
the
Okay.
fastest player to go from top 100 to top 10 in history with that win.
All
I
right, I
think
like
it's
that. I
gonna
like
it's
that.
gonna
Okay,
happen.
yeah, interesting to see. Right, let's move on to the women's draw as well. I mean,
Women's doubles draw, you mean?
women's doubles draw, yeah, because Venus and Serena are here. Yeah, I mean, we've got all the kind of all the similar names. I mean, we've got Sabalenka as the top seed. Can she find some form? Can she win a title? Not won one since Miami earlier in the season. We'll see about that. Elena Rybakina as well. Iga Swiatek is the defending champion. I mean, yeah, where are you looking at, Chris, in this draw? I mean, you've got the likes of Mira Andreeva as well, not in the greatest form at the moment. Linda Noskova, Anna Samova, kind of interesting there. Iga Swiatek. Iga Swiatek is the seventh seed and could face Rybakina in the quarterfinals. So, yeah, where are you looking at in terms of this draw?
Well, I'm only looking at Sloane Stephens, Joel. She's
Well,
already
she won her
through
first match, didn't she?
straight sets. Yes, she did indeed.
Easy streak.
Yeah, she's back. She's playing Potapova, who hasn't been in that much form since she had that sort of clay swing that she played very well in. I think Sloane might win another match. That's my biggest prediction. But it's a great draw. It is strange when you have everyone playing again. It is just more of the same. So at least there's some new stories on the men's side. But what's good about the women's side is it's so open. It's always going to be entertaining.
There is one familiar story though, Chris, we have to touch on. We don't normally like negging on players too much, but Venus Williams is out, lost to Arango in straight sets. I think I read 11 wild card 11 wild card slots, 11 defeats. I've seen again comments online that's like enough is enough with this Venus Williams in the singles. Where do you stand on this? Will you keep giving her wild cards, or like is there no hope? Just stick to the doubles with Serena.
It's tricky. It is tricky to know what to do because I mean I'm a huge fan of Venus Williams. I've always said that their story is my go of tennis, their combined story. But the love that someone has for playing tennis, it doesn't have to be playing professional singles tennis at masters level or grand slam level. I think how great would it be and how great has it been when she's dropped down to a lower level? I think that's fantastic for the tournaments. I think it's a really good anomaly that can really lift tennis in those spaces. When she played, I think was it in Austin and a few of the smaller places where she has kind of taken the Venus Williams tour and wildcard and have played singles, and it's been an entertaining affair, and she played some doubles and it's been great. So I think there's a lot of the legacy that I think is still appreciated in that way. But I do think that, when you're losing 6-2, 6-2 to a player who is 10 and 20 for the year, just inside the top 100, and you haven't won 11 matches, it's not going to get better. It really isn't. I think that's what's clear. And maybe this is all for the big crescendo with Serena, and she wants to stay fit. She's using it as a way to get the tennis in, get as on point as she can. But I don't believe there is a place at 1,000 level or 500 level where Venus Williams should be getting a singles wildcard based on her ability, but based on tournaments needing her, that's a different question. And she always will be box office. But I would much rather she played or took her love of the game to doubles, and that would be the focus because she's very competitive on a doubles court and she's had some great wins this year.
Well, Serena and Venus are confirmed to play Marta Kostiuk and Peyton Stearns.
That
in
classic
round
doubles
one.
combo. I'm sorry, have they ever played together before?
I don't know. It feels Feels
Scratch
very much a
pairing.
scratch pairing, doesn't it? Caustic Stearns, bit of a tongue twister as well. We'll have to see how that goes. One final thing, Chris, before we come on to our predictions. There's been some
Wait, sorry,
stories.
Joel. Am I having to bib the only Venus Williams opinion here? Come on.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm to be honest, I think you said it all. Like, I don't think there is a place, sadly, now performance alone for Venus Williams in main draws of this level of event. And even at this tournament, you can see what a draw she is, and that to me is the tension. But I wouldn't say wildcard should be. I don't think that should be the guiding factor for wildcards in terms of how being a popularity contest. I think performance should come into it a lot more, and perhaps that should be the priority metric. And it doesn't feel like that's being maintained. The more and more Venus Williams is playing, I'm sorry to say, but I do love seeing her, and seeing her on the doubles court with Serena. I think is going to provide a moment for a lot of fans. But yeah, maybe it's time to call it a day on the singles court. It's just not happening.
It's not happening, but who will it happen for in Cincinnati on the women's side? I can give Kim's predictions.
Okay.
She's actually gone quite sensible this time. I think she put all of her rogue predictions in for the men. She's got Sabalenka versus Fernandez, Goff, Kostyuk, Kalinskaya, Ayala, Swiatek, Schneider. And I think that's four. I've given you four names. I was about to go to the semi-finals. Yep. I haven't done quite the same. I've got Krejcikova, Svitolina.
Okay.
Goff and Andreeva, she's back. Going to play well here. Ayala, Pagula, and then Swiatek, Rybakina. The rematch is on.
Yeah, I've got Krejcikova, Keys, Goff, Kostyuk, Anisimova, McNally.
Right.
And Swiatek, Rybakina.
Okay. Interesting that you've gone sensible, but
also a bit rogue. I think McNally's
rogue.
playing really well at the moment. And I like Kim picking out Fernandez. I think Fernandez also playing some good tennis.
She'd played great over in Canada.
Yeah.
Semi-finals, I've gone for Svitolina, Goff, Pagula, Swiatek. I've got a Goff Swiatek final with Goff winning. I have Kim's as well. I haven't got any more predictions. Kim has Sabalenka, Goff, Kalinskaya, Swiatek. And she's got a Goff Swiatek final as well, but a Swiatek winner. So she's gone for both winners.
Interesting.
In Canada, that's also winning Cincinnati.
I'm not convinced.
The odds are against her.
She's had some rogue predictions in the past that have come good. So,
she is the prophet of the group.
Yes. I've got Krejcikova, Goff, Anisimova, Rybakina, and I've got a Goff Rybakina final. I'm already not sure about it, to be honest, but I've got Coco Gauff as my champion.
We both went Gauff. I was really impressed with her this week. I thought she came very close to winning the title I agree. Taking out Rybakina. So a prediction for the Williams sisters doubles performance. What round do you think they're going to get to?
I think the second round. I think they will win this match. And I think they will win this match, and they'll meet a proper doubles team at some point. I can't remember the draw exactly, but I think they can meet a seeded doubles team in the second round, and I think that's where it probably comes to an end for me.
I think it's going to be straight sets, round one loss for them.
Oh, to the doubles specialists of Stearns and Kostyuk?
I really thought that Serena was being carried by Mboko at Queens and Mukova when they played on the grass. And I'm not sure Venus can carry her in the same way. So I'd love them to have a deep run, but it will be a reality check, I think, heading into the US Open. So let's see.
Yes, I think it'll be a lot of fun, that match. I always think it's fun when you put singles players on a doubles court. But yeah. Right, we're going to wrap up, though, our latest tour catch-up here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action from the ATP and WTA tours as we head towards the US Open. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favourite podcasting platforms out there. And if you love what you're hearing, be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, as well as hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
And you can stay connected with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and X. The handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. And as always, you can get in touch with us with a mailbag question. The email is tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, or you can DM us or message us on any of our social platforms, and visit our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back next week. Well, I say next week. I think the plan at the moment is we will be back a week Monday to wrap up Cincinnati. We've got a big schedule ahead. Do look out for that episode. We've got our US Open draw preview also coming up as we get into the final major of the year. So yeah, lots and lots to look forward to. But yeah, until then, it's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.